Hi, I'm Kiran. I'm a freelance programmer. I basically solutions and tools, but now mostly I deal with healthcare integration and exchange related software. So what Safhire is, it is an implementation of SQL on FHIR standard. It uses an embedded OLAP database, DuckDB, which Dan gave a wonderful overview of DuckDB in earlier presentation. The reason for not using an external instance of database as part of Safire is to keep the single static binary, the idea of distributing it as a single static binary so that it simplifies the installation, hopefully, with the less number of instructions to set up and get that up and running. It is available in two variants. One is a CLI, and the other one is a standalone server, the Safire. So I've been working on a TEFCA gateway, the Trusted Exchange Framework and Common Agreement, which is a technical standard as well as a technical specification, as well as a set of operating procedures. And that is primarily intended for exchanging healthcare data between providers. They can just go ahead, connect to one of their preferred networks and get the data of their healthcare data. And this particular exchange, because it deals with a huge amount of, and also, this project is called RAW. There's a demo instance of it, which is up and running at FHIR that you can take a look at it. So this TEFCA gateway RAW contains an inbuilt provider directory aggregator. Provider directory is like that lists endpoints, various other systems that are running on behalf of providers. So this directory lists out what service can be reached out at which endpoint, on what version of that endpoint, the version of the service running at that endpoint as well. And this directory data is crucial for the functioning of the exchange gate. Because of that, this data is crucial, and also this data is almost like in a flux at times. Not like huge changes, but definitely, it's like new providers will be onboarded and the existing providers get updated, etc. And we'll get to see that in the one of the use cases in a moment. And the other motive primarily is efficiency. Both RAW and Safire are implemented in Rust because we're a consult for a client. I am actually primarily responsible for maintaining, enhancing one of the legacy systems that they have. And the amount of resources it requires and the kind of like administrative effort that is required to keep it just up and running is really huge. There's just an experiment on my part to see, if I can do something while working, while developing RAW as well as Safire. Rust, thankfully, enables it to a large extent. And then our design choices, like most of the heavy lifting in this case is done by DuckDB for the analytical work. And we get to the CLI version is again a single static binary. It takes a set of view definitions as input. It can emit either in CSV or SQL. So it basically needs to be pointed out at a directory containing all the view definitions, and then give it another directory containing either JSON or ND-JSON, and it will emit in the format that expected. Yes, Nikolai.
Are you showing slides? Because we only see the first slide.
Okay, for some reason my screen sharing is paused. Let me share the whole stuff and play again.
Oh, now we see it. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't notice that either. I was just going through, and this is the part where I was talking about the Safire's features, and then the history of the Safire, then the CLI version. This is where we are right now. And the command line variant takes a set of view definitions, the set of file resources, and produces either in CSV or SQL. This basically it exists because people who do not want to use a server or to set up a server or to use their preferred SQL server, they can use the command line variant. And the server, it basically accepts either independent individual resources or a whole bundle or HTTP post. The reason for that, or the goal here, is to set it up as a completely separate server, from the existing FHIR database, so that the analytical overhead will not be on the FHIR server itself. So what it does is it acts like a queue, and it takes all the incoming JSONs if it can't immediately process them, and stores them in the journal. And as soon as they get processed, they'll be removed from the queue. So we are only left with the SQL data in this. And it comes with an administrative view where we can create the view definitions. The UI is pretty minimal. It basically lets us create some view definitions and then query the generated SQL data using an inbuilt SQL console. And there's a demo instance of it up and running over there, Safhire or Serene. And the US pretty, it has its own quirks at the moment. And so please take a look, play around with it. That particular instance doesn't have a protection against the delete or update of the table definitions. So if you want to have a go with that, go at it, please do it. Or maybe please don't do it, it will nuke all the data. So the other one, the next one, I'm going to briefly talk about some of the use cases that, that are not ready yet. And this one is right now actively in use in production, where, as I mentioned in the earlier slide about provided directory, this piece is really critical for the entire exchange operation. And the changes in the directory will impact the ability to query a particular provider, by the clients. If there are any that are deleted, and from Safhire, a Grafana or any other alerting system will actually continuously monitor it. And as soon as it finds a day's report, like once in a day it runs, let's say the directory update, then automatically it will send out a notification using a mechanism like NATS.io or other. Currently we are using NATS. So what the legacy exchange does is it pulls the latest provider and updates its own local copy. Also, a report gets sent out so that administrator can review, whether to blacklist or whitelist some of these providers based on security incidents, etc. But Safire makes this a lot easier. Otherwise they have to trudge through lots and lots of file resources or have some sort of other manual mechanism to identify these differences. Also, it helps as a nice way to dig through the history. Of course, though FHIR provides the history mechanism, this is a lot more easier for them to say, for example, when was the provider last updated? This is one that is actually very actively used right now in the environment of a client that I'm working for. And the other one, it's a very ambitious one, and it's a pretty big effort, and that's currently underway, building up of a record locator service. The record locator service, basically what it lets us do is it gives us hints or some confidence, some level of confidence in identifying where a particular patient's data can be found. So this way, what happens is we don't need to query, say, 10,000 endpoints, but it limits saying like a provider, a patient's X data is, available, likely to be available in location, A and C. That is all. And then the system can make use of this information and query only those 3 endpoints, thereby, reducing the number of requests and also reducing the load on the whole network. And then significantly reducing the response times, ultimately letting the clients pay lesser price per request. And we heavily use the request and response data that is present in the exchange request and convert it into a FHIR model. Because the response is already a FHIR model, and extract some of the properties like source, destination, etc. And there are a few more other things that we do because it's PHI, and so some sort of hashing thing is done on the individual fields using custom, FHIRPath functions. And this is where SQL on FHIR proved to be really good, a standard that we can extract any sort of data that we want to, be it either for billing or for other reasons like public health related reasons. And this is another use case, but this is not there yet, but something what pursuing, and will be, will be a great addition to the RAP. And that's all I'm working on.
Thank you. Is it kind of open source or everything closed source, and how people can try it?
It's all commercial. I'm in closed source at the moment.
Are you planning to publish any part of it?
No, but the binaries are actually, kind of published, especially the Safire CLI version is published. And probably the server will also be, but I haven't put it up yet on the GitHub repository, but it will be soon. I already have the binaries. I just need to publish them. But the source remains closed at the moment.
And how it works internally? Did you implement FHIRPath engine in Rust?
Yes.
Any plans?
Yes, it's
separate it as a library and publish to the public domain? Because I think it could be interesting for many people.
There's a REPL client that I built on top of this FHIRPath engine that I have, and that I'm actually willing to, publish the binary for. But the source at the moment, I need to think about it.
Yeah, I mean just FHIRPath part of it.
The FHIRPath part, yes. Yeah. And the one that right now I'm going to publish is just the REPL engine, but not the FHIRPath implementation itself.
Thank you.